It's a little bit difficult situation for me because I have to talk about transportation in front of something like 10 million transportation engineers in Greece and 450,000 transportation engineers in Europe. Because transportation looks simple, still a science. And it is much more complex, and we have seen it just in the discussion earlier. Buses are linked to cycles, are linked to priority. Police has the key of bus lanes, and still the solution is parking, which is local responsibility. So it is a complex puzzle where transportation engineers, they have scientific solutions. We have seen some of them evolving in Europe. Still in Greece, we are lagging behind. I would like to provide 5 keys. Quickly, key remarks, key challenges, key governance weaknesses, key priorities, and key opportunities. In terms of key remarks, the European Union is a front runner in sustainable transport, has set clear targets, roadmaps, some budgets towards sustainable transport. We are not as fast as the US, but we are more sustainable than the US. And this is an important basis. And a lot of countries are building on this. Greece is also building on these directions. But Greece is mostly in theory, lacks in implementation. And this is related to the overall culture, I would say. It's not a minister or a driver who is responsible. It is all of them. It's the whole system that lacks sustainable mobility culture. In terms of mobility culture, we have always in mind that I have to buy buses, I have to make roads, I have to do infrastructure. In fact, management, it is much more important. Managing parking, managing traffic, managing active mobility, sometimes it's much more important than building new roads. We have seen it everywhere that new roads is not really the solutions, at least in the city. And in fact, we are talking about culture. Yes, we need education, we need sensibilization of the people, campaigns, etc. But the best campaign, the best improvement of culture starts with the example of the state, of the authorities. Local authorities, regional authorities, central authorities, they have to give the paradigm, the example. So these are key remarks. In terms of specific sustainable challenges, we have to make quickly a few main topics. We need culture by everyone. We need to redistribute public space. We have too much space for cars. And we always say that we want public transport, but we forget to say that public transport cannot evolve as far as we don't chase cars. And politicians are afraid to say this. They say we are in favor of public transport, but doing nothing, giving more parking space to cars, so more cars on the road, no space for public transport. So public transport is not standalone. It is related mainly to parking policy, which is a municipality. Then, of course, we need integrated management of both traffic and parking in relation to active mobility, give space to cyclists and pedestrians, and promotion of all the new services of mobility as a service with digital platforms and technologies, and, of course, have governance with efficient, on one hand, enforcement, and on the other hand, restrictive measures. Of course, if we give big roads, there are going to be plenty of cars, parking and speeding. No, we need narrow streets and then much less car traffic, much more pedestrian, active mobility, and public transport. The key governance weaknesses, we can state there is no real plan, there is beautiful visions, but no roadmaps. And this is something which is characteristic in Greece, and we have to face it. We have to work with the competency of the authorities, because the people are not fully expert in the field. They have a lot of procedures. Tendering is a disaster in Greece. We don't bring results with this type of tendering. And there is a strong resistance to change by the authorities and the people, which is also related to absence of monitoring and accountability. Without monitoring and accountability, we don't really go to convince anyone that we are working seriously, especially when we have divorce with data, and when communication is only show off and not really showing the results of our work because there is no data and evaluation. And as key priorities, we can say we have to develop plans, we have to develop roadmaps, which is missing, modernize legislation. A lot of things cannot be happen today because legislation is not foreseeing them in terms of redistribution of public space, improve the implementation efficiency, as we said, multi-annual budget lines, technology and digital governance, monitoring, accountability, and robust communication policy, which is going inside and outside the authorities, convincing people of the authorities to work and convincing the people why they have to change their mind. And finally, the last key, there are directions at EU. We have to go from theory to practice. We need significant resources. There is a lot of technology tools which make our lives easier, and we have sufficient know-how. So the challenge is, I would say, as mentioned, first goes to the authorities. So this is a quick outline of where we stand.
Thanks very much. It's a really, public transportation and mobility in cities, as you said, it's a puzzle. But it's one of these sort of classic optimization problems where you've got lots of inputs and factors, and somehow you've got to make them all coordinate in a way that results in the optimum system. Very, very few places do it, in my experience. You know, and you have the whole range of possibilities. I was in Stockholm last week. They do it, so they've got a pretty effective public transportation mobility system in Stockholm between bikes and cars and taxis and all the rest of it, and walkers. And I was in Delhi not so long ago. They don't do it. You know, they're a long, long way away from resolving that optimization problem. Greece clearly is somewhere in the middle. It strikes me from your priorities, what you say, and you know, from my experience of Athens, that you have primarily within that optimization problem, you have one issue, which is a collaboration between the public authorities and the consumers, the citizens, that neither side wants terribly to rock the boat, and that someone sort of has to take a lead on saying, no, we're gonna fix this. So, you know, if you drive around in Athens, there's a whole system dedicated to parking illegally. You know, find just somewhere where you can drop your car and leave. And somehow, for the municipalities, it's easier to allow that to carry on happening than to fix it. So that, I don't know where you start with this. It's a chicken and egg. Can you change the social attitudes towards let's make the city work before you change the official attitude towards we're not going to allow any contravention of the rules that we put in place? I don't know if any of that was clear, but I'll hand over to you for a response.
Listen, it's not only the illegal parking, also the legal parking is too much. I'm not an optimist, because in Greece there are cities which manage to coordinate this, but at a smaller size. Trikala, Larissa, Rethymno, Ceres, they are really ahead. They are competing European cities. Athens is big, it's complex, and it is 3-4 partite, and everybody is pushing the problem to the other one. The region, the municipality of Athens and the other municipalities, the government, and of course the police. And everybody says it's the other one. So we missed the pandemic opportunity. All over Europe, they said, we have pandemic. Public transport cannot work. But we use active traveling. We put on pedestrian streets, new infrastructure for cyclists. They have done a massive change. You mentioned the example of Stockholm, Paris, Brussels. They took the pandemic as an opportunity. And transportation engineers, we continue being shocked by the announcements of the government, the continuous announcement of the government that no public transport during the pandemic, full stop. It was the only country saying full stop. All other countries said yes, but we go for active mobility. And then there were some initiatives, like the Panepistimiou pedestrianization, the main street. I mean, we have 6 lanes in downtown. This is inconceivable in any city. And then government, opposition, the citizens, everybody was against because don't touch my car. And our politicians proved really, really undaring. And I am afraid that they continue being undaring to touch the car. So this is a fundamental cultural issue. And as far as the government and all politicians are still promising that public transport and traffic will continue, might improve with cars, this is completely an impasse. So there are a lot of issues. Of course, we have new buses. Of course, we're building a new metro line, etc. But the fundamental part, which is give priority to public transport, waiting the new metro line, it is out of the agenda. I mean, we took, I don't know how many, 10 years to put cameras in the buses. We're discussing this for 20 years. Let's hope that it will work. And how much it's going to work, because this is lately the government is doing well with the digital fines. They are going to link cameras with automatic fines, and then people start to change behavior and all this illegal car parking and car traffic on bus lanes. But still, a lot to be done in terms of managing the public space. And I would say that especially regional and municipal authorities are really undaring, really afraid of touching the car due to political cost and to the society. So if we don't have front runners changing the pattern, today is paradise in our traffic. In the coming years, it's going to be more and more hell if we do nothing. This is mathematics. We are saying this, transportation engineers, for years, that you have to coordinate the whole system. Still, they are afraid of touching the car. So,
okay. I mean, it is an extraordinarily complex problem with many, many moving parts. Certainly, there isn't a quick fix, but I do get the sense that, you know, slightly pessimistic as you may seem, the solutions are there, and you can see them, and you've pointed them out. I feel that we're slightly scolding our audience, which is never a good idea. So I think I need to offer you a reward in compensation. That reward is that we're now going to break for coffee. So you've got 20 minutes, half an hour or so to go and get a cup of coffee, and we'll see you back here after that. But before you all stand up and leave, please join me in thanking an excellent panelist. Thank you.